Hi everyone, it's Gary with MACMOST.com, and in this live episode, I'm going to be taking a look at the basics of using the Freeform app on your Mac. So Freeform is an app that comes with your Mac. It was introduced, I think, 2 years ago, and it's part of Mac OS. So if you've got Sequoia or you have Tahoe, you have Freeform. And it's an unusual tool for a lot of people, and other people were looking for a tool like this for a long time beforehand. It's basically a combination of graphics tool and organizational tool that you can use for a variety of different things. Let's take a look at it here. So here I am in Freeform. You can launch with Spotlight from the dock, however you want. And in Freeform, you've got something called boards. So you have a left sidebar here, and you can view all boards. You can view recents and ones you've shared, that kind of thing. You can't really organize beyond that. The idea is you can create a new board. Oh, you can view these, by the way, in a grid view or in a list view if you like. And you can click here to create a board. And once you've created a board, you got this basically endlessly scrolling in all directions board that you could put things on. You see these different dots here, and the dots there's this little button here at the bottom right. You could turn the dots on or off, but the dots act as kind of a grid for you to snap things to. So the idea is you place elements here, and you can see at the top you've got text and you've got shapes as your primary things. Let's just add a shape as an example. I'll just add a circle here, and it puts a circle shape in the board. And I can now scroll. I'm going to use two fingers on my trackpad. You can use the top, one finger on the top of your Apple mouse, and you can scroll left or right. And I can go as far as I want here, so I can get the circle way out of view if I want. I can also zoom out and in. I can use the trackpad for that as well. We got these plus and minus buttons here. So you can see how instead of being limited like you are in Pages or even in Keynote with slides, you are not limited here. So you can, keep adding things in one direction or the other if you like. Um, and let's take a look at some of the different things you can add here. So I showed a shape here. You can add text. So you get these little text boxes here, and you can, expand the text. You can type in it. You can type something in it. And this could be like a word or a title, but it also could be like a whole paragraph of text. So you could do like, I'll use my little clip tools here and paste a paragraph of text into it here. And, you could resize this. It's more of a like an iPad iOS type of interface here where you have these controls that appear underneath, but you also have the Mac controls where you can go to the menu here and you can, change things. Like if I wanted to make this bold, I could, but I also could click here and then unbold this. I click here and then change the font to something else, change the size to something else, like that. I have to select the text for that. Let's make the size. You have a size thing there as well. So you can create paragraphs of text and move it around. You can create just headings, things like that. Lots of text. If you want, you can also do shapes, and the shapes work very similarly to how they work in Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. So you can create something like, let's say, a rounded rectangle here, and I can resize it. It even has that little rounded rectangle radius control here. Some shapes have that, like stars, the number of points in the star and things like that. When you select an item, you've got the color here. You can change it to any color you want. You got the color wheel, but you also have a border. So you can do a different kind of border, make it thick or whatever you want. And then you can double click on any shape, just like in Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, and type something, type some text here, make the text different size. So just like with Pages, you can have text boxes on their own, but you can also have shapes that have text in them. And then you can position these around. When you create another shape, so let's create, say, like a little speech bubble here. You could position this around like you want. You could also option drag, let's see here, option drag to duplicate something like that, or you can copy and paste here. You can have text in here as well. So you've got shapes and you have the full gamut of all the shapes that are available on all the different apps. So you can put a shape, like that in there and type something in it. You can also control click, right click, or two finger click, do something like change shape and, you know, select another shape, which is kind of nice. Um, and yeah, you've got other options up in here. So you have the ability here to make it editable, and then you can drag like the point and a shape, just like you can in Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. So lots of cool stuff you can do with these. You can also create these little Post-it notes here, and then you can resize those within reason here and change their color as well. And then you type stuff in here. So you can imagine that's important for various things. Tables are new. I'm not going to really look at that here. I just did a video on those. They help you group things together in a table-like format. They are not spreadsheet tables like you have in Pages or Numbers, though. A big thing that you could do is links. You can click here and, well, first before links, we got photos and videos, and you could drag and drop images in here, but you could also say select an image, uh, and add it. And then you've got your image here. It's importing it in from the from my photos library. You've got the image here. You can select it. You've got things that you could do. You can replace the image if you want. You could remove the background. You could crop like you can in Pages to crop the image. That's meant to do this. There you go, and resize it, and done. So you have the ability to do images. You can do image playground for AI generated images. You can also add a link, and a link you enter a URL. So for instance, here, if I wanted to do like MACMOST, I could, copy a URL and I could paste it in here. And if I paste it in, you could see it pastes this little preview of the web page there. So that's kind of nice. You can actually, you can add, let's see, if I click here, oh yeah, you can go with link, you can edit link, you can preview or, jump to the link. And you can do various things here with the link to resize it. This is important. It seems like, oh, just a little thing, but you can use boards a lot for gathering things together, including links to stuff. So links to web pages are important to be able to do here. Um, and you can have other media as well. So you can do videos, for instance. If I were to go into Finder here, and let's go and search my Documents folder for a video. Let's just search in the Documents folder here, like this one here. I can drag it. I'm going to switch to Freeform, drop it in, and you have a little video player inside of Freeform here that should play the content of this. I'm not, yeah, there it goes. So yeah, and you've got options there for the video. So you can have video, you can have audio, little audio clips that you have a play button in them as well. So lots of different things. You can even have media, that a 3D media, like I imported this 3D graphic here. There it is, 3D object. And the 3D graphic, you can actually grab and move around. It's a 3D object. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that you could bring in. So that gives you an idea of all the stuff that you can do and how you can easily move things around and do stuff. But what can you do with this? This is like a tool. So now what do you use this for? So you can use this for a lot of different things. One of the things that is important to realize you can do here that's different than, say, in reminders or like in a number spreadsheet or something like that is how it's two-dimensional. You've got this area here where you could move things around, so you could have different things, and like imagine there's different text in these, right? And you could group things together. You could just move things around. I want to group these things together here and this one separately, right? And then, oh, I want to move this one down with this stuff. And you can just have them pile on top, but it's easy with these grids to actually make them fit nicely in place if you wanted to. It's up to you. Some people want one or the other. Grab multiple items, move stuff around, to group them, to get ideas for brainstorming and such. You can zoom out. You can't run out of room if it's like, oh, I want to put this to the right here. Well, you can put it to the right, and you can zoom out and move these over and group them together in different ways to do stuff. So you can use this for really cool stuff like, for instance, vision boards. People like to do vision boards. Let's say, for instance, that you are doing a vision board where, oh, I don't know, you're planning, you're thinking of like your next home, right? You're planning maybe to buy a house. So, you want to search for things that you like. So you can do like an image search here on the web, and you could find like images for it's like, oh yeah, we want like this is the kind of porch we're looking for. So, we could go in here and copy image and switch to the board here, paste this in. But I also kind of like the, how this porch looks, copy image, paste this in here. We want to have, let's look at kitchens. And this is typical vision board type stuff. And you see how quickly I can build this here. And it's like, oh, I want a kitchen that looks, I don't know, like this one, you know, copy image, and you paste this in, and then you can put titles over these things. So you could, so porch, and um, put this here. I'll option drag and stick this here. Kitchen ideas, and just keep building out this vision board. And people like to do this to be able to, gather their ideas, share them with others. So maybe you and your spouse are looking for a house. You start to gather this stuff. You could each add to it, or maybe you each make one, and then you can kind of share them with each other to get an idea of what you agree on and what you don't. And then you can, make this really messy. But then when you're ready, you can maybe clean things up and make it nice and clean, and then print it out, or export it as a PDF to share with your real estate agent or whatever. That's like one idea for a vision board. You could be car shopping, you could be thinking of a vacation, like where to go on vacation. Okay, let's put a bunch of pictures together of things that we want. um, you could also, it's vision boards are related to another type of board, a design board. And a design board might be something where, say, you're going to redesign, oh, let's redo our living room. So you can do like, let's look for sofas, and let's oh, I like, let's this style of sofa is really cool here. Copy the image, paste it in here, and this could be, doesn't have to be from web searches. You could have catalogs, you could have, of your favorite shopping site. And then if you're at your favorite shopping site, you might actually, well, let's just do this, since this one actually goes to a shopping site. So you could say, oh, I want this actual product here. I'm going to paste this in, and there, this is an actual like link to this with a description, right? So you have the picture, but you can also click on it and go to the web page for this item. So you do this as a design board, redesign your living room, but it also could be like design for work. You're designing a new app, right? What goes into the app? What should the design look like? You put pictures or screenshots from your favorite apps or some design sites, or maybe even things that people have created in the office. Graphic designers that have come up with ideas can put together a whole bunch of stuff in design boards. What does the user interface look like? What's the feature set? So you may have pictures here, but you may also have a text, and in the text you may have, features. Let's left justify this, make it bigger, and then go down. And then we have like a list. Let's do a bullet list. 1, 2, 3. And the idea is here, you're combining things, right? This might be something you do in reminders as a list. It might be something you do as notes in pages. But with Freeform, you can have a bunch of graphics over here as your design inspiration, and then a bunch of lists over here as your functionality inspiration, and just put them all into one board. This could be something that eventually evolves into a finished document that you actually used in your production process. But it also can be something that you just use as the first stage of that, right? So you gather all the stuff together, and then this is your like demo stuff. And then you produce nice documents in Pages or Word or whatever that actually is your design document. But this is your starting point, which, you can see how this could be used for brainstorming, right? Throw in a bunch of different ideas onto here, whether it's pictures, whether it's text and all of that. Maybe you've got, maybe these features, instead of being in a list here, are actually features that are all separate little pieces of text. So feature A and feature B and feature C, and then these are like, you group them together by moving them around. And then somebody says, oh, feature C is not really it's not really a functionality, it's more design. Let's move that over to design. Or let's, move them together and group them together in different ways. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with that. And you can also see how this could be used for storyboarding, right? So if you're creating a video or writing a book, you can, create little shapes here, make them, a better color, and then have different, scene one, and let's do this. You can have more text than just one line here. So you have some description, with a paragraph of text like this, and this will, you can see it's kind of resizing to fit here, but you can have different size text and different things. And then, you have scene one, but then imagine scene two, scene three. Where does this scene, because this is a flashback here, right? So do we put the flashback between these? Or no, let's do these scenes here and then put the flashback here. And then you can have, drawings, you can have pictures, you can have characters, so you can create like, let's do circles that are this color has, uh, a character there, and then we have like, three characters, and then where do these link to? These two characters are in here, and we introduce this character here. A lot of cool stuff you can do. You can see how this would be hard to do as something as linear as text, like in Pages or a list or something like that, because it's really kind of three-dimensional here. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of that. You can even do, like, I've seen people do things like grouping in terms of scheduling, right? So imagine you've got Monday, and let's make Monday bold. Let's do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, right? And you can use tools here like this one, like let's do arrange, distribute objects horizontally. So now they're nicely distributed. And then you've got, things that you need to do, a task, you put it in here, and then you have like a whole bunch of different tasks. And you say, okay, we're gonna try to get stuff done on Monday, but this will be a Tuesday thing. And then this one's something we need to do on Thursday. And then somebody says, oh, remember all afternoon on Monday, you got something else. So, you had that something else, but then let's move this one to Wednesday. Could be scheduling for your team, move things around. These could be people and, different tasks, and you could assign like, oh, this task is now going to go to Mark, and this is going to go to Bill, and this is going to go to Sally, and you move things around, and then even like, change their colors. Oh, this task is done, and this one is now done, that kind of thing. But you can see the grid here makes it so it's two-dimensional, right? This could even be days of the week, and these could be people or something like that. And you can create things in a two-dimensional way. And that's like kind of an important thing here. If you ever see something, or one of these things was like, I could just do that in a list in Pages, then it's important to realize that, yes, you can. If you think you could do it as a list in Pages, or think you can do it as a list in Reminders, or Reminders list for the categories, if you think you can do it in those, then the thing is you probably can. But others may not be able to. Like, others may prefer a freeform board. So it's a matter of preference. Just like some people use notes for some things that other people use reminders for, some people use reminders for things other people use calendar for. I think freeform is really good for some people who want to see things laid out and be able to just drag items around very easily. Whereas other people may find that's too freeing and they want more of a rigid thing like a spreadsheet where they actually have to copy things from one cell to another cell and move things around. So it really depends on what you like. So I know the first question here that I got was like, oh, some examples. I hope some of these examples that I've given, uh, and I'm not done yet with examples, but I hope some of them maybe are things that have, given you an idea of what others use Freeform for. And also, no, it's perfectly okay never to use Freeform. Not every tool is for everyone. I'm sure there are people that never use notes or never use reminders. And there are people that never use Freeform, and other people that probably it's like their biggest tool that they go to right now on their Mac. And they may have actually used something else like it even before Freeform existed. Or they may continue to use another tool like Freeform that has even more features, right? A third-party app. One of the other things that you can do is you can connect things together. So notice there are lines here in addition to the regular shapes. So I can create a line that's got an arrowhead. Matter of fact, regular lines and lines with arrowheads are the same because you can go in here and you can change like what's on the ends. So you can see I can turn a arrow into a regular line or a regular line into an arrow. I can also change the line, color and thickness and all of that, even make it dotted and all. So you've got that. You can even go in here and um, grab the ends here to point to other things. But what's really interesting is connection lines. So you can create a box like this one and type something in it. And then you create another box or a circle like this one, type something in it, and you can connect the two. You can connect the two by creating a connection line. One way to do it here, I'm going to show you a much easier way in a second, is insert connection line. And then you can grab one end and you can see I can connect it to the shape in general, but I can also connect it to a point, either one of these four on the outside or the middle. So let's connect it to this point, and I'll connect this one to one of the points here. And then I've got this green dot here that I could move around to change the curve. But you can also control click and there's a way to, I can't remember, oh, maybe I just single click, yeah. And I could change it to the connection style, straight line, for instance, or like this type of connection line. And let's just do straight line. And now the thing is, now that they're connected, I can move them and they will stay connected to those anchor points that we assigned before. And you can actually drag the line, let me select the line, drag this point here, connect it to another anchor point. So I could do that, right? So you can create these anchor points and we can do it here. I'm going to show you a better way to do this. Let me take me out so you can see these buttons here at the bottom. You can go into connection line mode with this button here. And now any shape you select, you get those points and you get these arrows. So the idea is that you can use these arrows here and drag one, and it creates a connection point from that anchor. So you can see I've got this shape anchored to two separate things with connection lines. So now I can drag these around, and I can drag this one around, and you can see how the lines follow it. So you can do all sorts of cool stuff like flow charts, family trees, organizational charts. Matter of fact, I have some examples here. Like here's an org chart, right, that I created with these. So you created these, and if you're like, oh, I need to create more room, you can move this one up, move it around, change these lines as you like. If you don't like this style, you can do this style here, which is nice. And you can use the green dot to get the line to behave like you want. And then you still can move it around like that. Um, so yeah, really useful for lots of things. Uh, and it can help in a lot of that stuff I showed before as well, like vision boards and stuff, because you can connect things together with these lines and, you know, move them around. I suppose if creating a true crime podcast, you could probably create a murder board with this as well. So lots of cool stuff that you could do with these lines, and you could see how a family tree could also be something that could easily be made. These could be any kinds of shapes you want, or just text boxes as well. So lots of cool stuff that you can do with those lines. And that's how some people use it. It's important to note. I mean, some people, like everything they do in Freeform is involving boxes with connection lines. Other people never use connection lines, right? So use it as you want for various things. I have another example I want to show you because you can use Freeform for presentations. How does that work? Well, so you create a board like this. This is a bunch of text boxes and some images here. And then I've got this little like title and an image and some text, right? So the thing is I can present, you can imagine I can use this window here. Let's close the sidebar. I've got this window. I can zoom in and I could say, okay, I'm going to show you my presentation and I could talk about this. And then I could say, let me show you my first great fact about wombats and go to the next one. And then I could go here, right? But you could also use this little menu down here. You can expand it here and you can add the scene, exactly the zoom and the area you're in as a scene here. And I've added 9 scenes. The first scene is this location at this zoom. The second scene is this. The third scene isn't the one below it, but all the way to the right. So I can go through these scenes using these arrows, and there's keyboard shortcuts for them. And you can see I can turn this into a presentation. I can zoom back out whenever I want. Matter of fact, I can make this a scene. Like I can go here and say, yeah, add a scene. Actually, I already did that here. You can see scene 8 is the whole thing. So at the end of the presentation, I could, or at the beginning, I can zoom out to show you an overview. Something that's not easy to do in Keynote, right? You can't go back to an overview and see all the slides as a slide. Also, you can't like go in and I can select, I'm going to command click and select all the text here and say, oh, let's change the font, right? Let's make it not bold or whatever. So I could change things really easily. I can reuse parts very easily. I can go like, for instance, from this slide back to the center here when I want. I can jump around, any way I want, and it's always going to fly like through the scene. So go here, I can go to scene 7 and it flies through it, giving you some sort of two-dimensional context for where things are. Um, and then when you're editing, you can be like, oh, okay, this is my whole presentation. I can view it all here like this and make changes. So an interesting presentation tool, a different style than Keynote, but definitely interesting. And then of course you could just share this window, like when you're doing Zoom and actually do this. And you can make changes while you're actually doing, the presentation, which you can't really do in Keynote too. So a very different thing. And you can collaborate, which is another big deal. So like in here, I could go, start this board here, and I could go to this, and I could say collaborate, and I can, invite somebody over messages, say, to collaborate with me or send an email or whatever. And then there's 2 people, just like with Pages, when you're doing this, 2 people can work on the board at the same time. More than 2 people. You can have your whole little work group working on the board at the same time or not at the same time. You all just share it, and somebody's working on it in the morning and somebody else in the afternoon, and then 2 people working on it in the evening at the same time, and they could even leave little like notes for each other or chat over messages as they're working on it. So collaboration's really cool and important part of this. Kind of hard to demo here though. And then you also have some export options. I'll like kind of finish with that. You can export as a PDF. So you can use this as a tool to create like a PDF. Like maybe this is a presentation and I do, I could do print board or I could do that export as PDF. And look at this little preview here. Go to open and preview so you can see like what the PDF looks like. There's my PDF, right? So I print this out and there's my handout. Or maybe this, I give it as a presentation one time and other times I give it as a handout or I print it up and have it on the wall or something like that. So you can use this as kind of a graphics tool to create things. If I can create that, you can imagine how easy you can create a sign for something in this, for sale, and put this here and attach the photo of whatever it is you're selling. Uh, I don't know if I have any products on here, but imagine it's like a picture of a guitar or something, for sale, a sign. So you have the picture of the guitar and then the price and the phone number, and you can do all that. And then you go to print, and then, it's going to center in on like what the content is. If you want a border around it, you can always just create a box, uh, make this, I'll turn off the connection lines thing, make it no fill, make it a solid line that's some thickness, put it here. You can arrange, send it back so it doesn't get in the way. You can also lock, so now like this won't be something you can grab. And now we can like create a sign in here. Easier than Pages, maybe for some people. If you're good at Pages, probably not. But if you're not particularly good at Pages and you've been playing around with Freeform, creating a sign is kind of neat. So lots of cool things you can do with this. Um, it's about that name, right? Freeform. What is it for? Well, it's a freeform tool. You can use it for all sorts of creative things. It's a creative tool. It's a scrapbooking tool. It's an organizational tool. It's a local replacement for Pinterest, that kind of thing. So can you import stuff into Keynote? That's a good question. Like, let's look at that. Like, let's say you created this org chart here. I, modified this. Can I bring this into another tool like Keynote or Pages? Let's open up a Pages document, new document, and I'm going to say, yeah, a layout document. I'm making a layout document here. Well, first thing is, can I grab this or just Command A to grab all? Copy and then paste, and yes. So it does it, and it pastes it in a way that it's like it's going to convert it here. So it's got some conflicts. Like I think this probably is, the way the arrangement tool works here. Text wrap is automatic. If I change it to none, there you go. So now it behaves more like that. So you can see now it's still objects and it's even connection lines. It's converting it to connection lines. If I were to go back to freeform here and let's say take my wild map presentation, Command A to select all, Command V to paste. So you can see here, this is pasted in Pages. I'm going to arrange and group and shrink it down. So I didn't do quite as good a job there. Let's go and see here. Yeah, kind of pushed everything to the side. If I were to maybe pay attention to the size of things. So arrange group here in freeform. Let's shrink this down. Well, let's see. Yeah, it's going to have a font issue there, but you get the idea. You can copy and paste, but you can also do this. You can also export board as PDF. Let's save it to the desktop. And so now it's one kind of embedded thing. And then I can bring that in. So there's that PDF I created. I can bring the PDF in. So PDF works as another way to do it. Kind of PDF is like printing digitally, right? So this is kind of like a printed thing that I'm bringing in to Pages. So you can do that, and you can do it with Keynote as well, and Numbers and other apps as well. Um, Somebody says great for mapping financial flows and cycles, banks, utility payments. Yeah, anything, if you have a more visual mindset, really Freeform is an interesting tool because you can, and remember I locked this, so unlock. You can map your stuff out. This is your IRA. This is your bank account. This is your, savings. And so on. Maybe this is checking. Map these things out. Put them, oh, this one I can't get to until I turn 65. These two are available now. We could put the value of the house there. We could adjust, oh, the savings, the checking, these are, relative size. The IRA is bigger, that kind of thing. Visually represent what you've got going on. Maybe you've got some other, 401k from here, you know, lots of cool stuff that you can do if you want to visually be able to represent stuff, anything. Automatic rearrangement of objects. Yeah, it's got some of that. I mean, it doesn't have like an AI kind of tool, but like if I wanted, you can see how the grid makes it really easy to snap things, right? But I could do stuff like, if I had things like this and I wanted to center them and distribute them, you've got align objects to the center, and then you've got range objects, distribute them vertically, the centers like that. Let's see here, distribute objects evenly, and it's doing the centers, and this is a big object here, so that's why it's kind of not the right tool there, but you've got some of that. And also notice when I select multiple objects, I've got this little button here that I could use to do these things, you know, group them in different ways. Can always use undo. Um, so yeah, a lot of cool stuff like that. Uh, Now, somebody said something about the window corner. Now, as far as like, if you mean the corner of the window like that, then I can help you there. It's just a visual object. But note that there's a lot of corners, like if you were to do, this is a complaint I hear sometimes. People say, oh, I hate that when I bring in an image, it's got the rounded edges to it. But you actually have the ability to turn that off, round corners. And now it's square corners there. And you also have the shadow that you can turn on or off. So up to you um, how you want to use that. So yeah, there's deeper features than what I've shown here, of course, that you could bring in to this. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff. So, yeah, can you place measurements on a drawing? Not really. So, Freeform is trying to be like devoid of measurements. It's trying to be just this board. These spaces between these dots don't mean anything. You could be, you saw how like on that Wombats presentation, how you can zoom out and zoom in, and you can make this be like, this is the whole world right here, these four elements, and I'm working with them. And then you realize, no, things are a lot bigger than this. Now I'm going to zoom out and I've got more stuff over here, right? And then, this is the whole world now of the project. Oh, the project is growing. We want to zoom out again because we've got stuff down here, right? That's the idea. And then it's like, all right, well, we've got a big project now, but let's focus on this right now and talk about this. That's kind of the idea here. This is kind of a world without measurements. If you're looking for like exact drawings, like CAD software stuff, this isn't it. This is free form, free. It's just open and free and all of that for you to be able to arrange things and think of things kind of spatially. So yeah, so I think I've gone and shown a lot of good stuff here. I've got a bunch of videos on Freeform. There's the new tables feature, which allows you to add tables, which are not spreadsheets, but you can add objects to uh, different cells here so that it groups things together. So now, like those two objects are on this kind of table, kind of a board within a board, but broken into cells, and you can have grid and things between them and all of that. So there's a lot of cool stuff there that's brand new, like as of last week, 2 weeks ago, that they added that. So you have to be really updated to have that. And there are other features here as well, including the collaboration stuff, which is pretty big. So anyway, that's a look at Freeform, and I hope that if you were curious about Freeform, this encourages you to play around with it and to see what uses it could have for you, which ways it can make maybe your workflow better. Um, as always, this video is really brought to you by the Patreon support that MACMOST gets. You notice that MACMOST.com and the MACMOST newsletter every Thursday that comes out. They're totally free and without any ads. That's because MACMOST is supported directly from people like you who support MACMOST through Patreon. So you can read more about it at Patreon, macmost.com/Patreon. It tells you what you get. You get course discounts. I post extra videos every week. I post announcements of these live things there as well. So a lot of stuff going on there. Check that out. And thanks for watching, and thanks especially to all my supporters that are watching now.